Just got the V-Line vans, and look at this. Special catering for Bad Betty. Ben took care of us. Yeah, yeah, Bad Betty's about to show y'all a surprise in a moment. All right, so we're about to demonstrate the first phase of making the connection for your underhood light. And as you can see, we definitely need one because I have my walkie out here and it's daytime and I need to see some things. So after you've popped your hood and secured the brace, you're gonna come on over and you're gonna go to, we are on the driver's side, just so you know, and the way that you know that is because you've been driving on the driver's side, we hope. But at any rate, what you're gonna do is go ahead and release this so that you understand where you're going to be gaining access to the 13mm nut. But what Ben is going to demonstrate is how you release the full box here. There are two little clips underneath there, and it's very hard to get the camera in there. But once you release the two clips, that's just going to pivot out of your way, as you can see. It's now going to expose everything here so that you can make your connection. Again, you're going to need a 13mm socket and ratchet. And what Ben's going to demonstrate is just removing this piece here. It's pretty straightforward and simple. Yours might be a little snugger, a little looser, but the whole idea is as you're extracting that is just to make sure that you don't drop it into the engine compartment, but which would be a little bit difficult because, there we go. Now, you're going to take your wiring harness, which Ben has right here, and as you can see, the fuse has been removed. That is key one to make sure that that fuse has been removed. We've removed it, but we're asking you to double check. And you can know that you have your positive lead here, the red wire. You're going to go ahead and make the connection right here. And I'm going to just go ahead and swing the camera around right there. It's going to fit right over. You're going to take your 13mm nut. You're going to start by just hand threading that on. And once you've made the connection there, you're going to grab your ratchet and you're going to cinch that down. Now there probably is a torque value in spec. I'll try to find that, but basically snug and pretty straightforward there. And one of the things that you'll notice that Ben has done is he has taken the lead, if you will, of the wire and moved it off to this open area right here. There's kind of almost a notch just off to the side. And so we're going to go ahead and Ben's going to just go ahead and leave this wire mostly loose as he kind of tucks it around because we're going to zip tie that later. That's going to be a second phase. So I'm going to go ahead and swing back around and show you what Ben's doing. All right, as you can see right now, Ben is going to reinstall the safety cover cap right over our connection point here. You'll notice that Ben has taken the wire and he has bent it down and around, and that's just to kind of keep it out of the way. What Ford did is they probably assumed that people were going to make some more connections here, and they made a little slot. So I'm going to let Ben go ahead and put the protective cap back over. And the nice thing about this is as you're placing it back over, and I'm trying to get you guys a good view here, you'll know that it made contact because it's going to click in. And you may have to just kind of wiggle it in. And there we go. It's got a good positive connection here. Now you have your wiring loom where the fuse, remember the fuse was located. What we're going to do is we're going to follow the lead of the hood release wire all the way around. Ben's going to tuck underneath this section, if you will, of the fender. And I can kind of demonstrate where that's at in just a moment. And you can feel the wire and you're going to pull it straight up. One of the other things, and I'll just swing the camera around here, is we include some clips right here that are going to actually house or hold your wire. That's important. We don't want anything sloppy and hanging around, but we're going to make that little connection later. So again, you've come underneath right by the reservoir here. And as you come up, you've got your wire. And now what we're going to do is demonstrate how you're going to feed and fish that in. After you've made your positive connection, as you can see here with the wire, you're going to need to feed it through a factory hole in the hood. It's right by the driver's side hinge assembly. So Ben's going to demonstrate feeding that in, and then we're going to show you where we're going to end up. So it just kind of guides in. And as it's coming up, it's naturally going to come through, again, a pre-factory hole here. And you're just going to gently feed from this point up to here. Just giving it a nice, even pull. And as you can see, the wire is going to come through. Nice and easy. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the other end here, and you're going to feed it right back through here. It's basically like you're sewing or threading. I'll move the camera around just a little bit here. And as you are able to see it thread back by, you're going to get some resistance there. That's pretty natural. This is where you just got to kind of be gentle. And you're going to see it pop through, again, another factory hole. The whole idea is you're not drilling holes. And as you can see, I'm just kind of helping Ben right here. But you can do this on your own independently. Just very gently guiding it through. Again, it's like you're sewing it. And the idea is that the wire, as you can see, is going to fish back through here. And where Ben is showing where his thumbs and his fingers are right there, that is going to be your natural bind point. But it's not something to be too concerned about because you're just going to slightly massage it. It's going to come back through. So again, you started here. You've made your way up through another factory hole. You've re-threaded it in, just like we demonstrated. Now you're coming back out this hole, and then we'll move to the second phase. All right, so we're still on the driver's side. You've taken your wire, you've left it a little loose. We're going to zip tie that up, and we're going to attach it into our metal provided clips here in a moment. Now Ben is going to make a connection to the provided fish tape, if you will. This is our invention, if you will. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the fish tape, and I'm going to swing the camera around here, and you're just going to take some basic electrical tape, and you're going to tape around that. What we like to do is feed our fish tape into the harness protective loom, if you will. It just makes a very nice, easy connection. And it doesn't take much tape, just a few wraps to make it secure. Then you're going to, if need be, put a little bit of Klein wire lube. We can leave a little link for that as well. This may or may not be necessary. What we found, and I'm going to kind of pause this here for a moment, is in between these channels, and I don't know if you can see there, but there's some, I'm going to call it an insulation goo, but it's very inconsistent. So as you're going through the factory holes that we're going to show you, and you're coming up and you're making your rounds, if you will, with your wire, you may run into a little bit of tight obstruction. So now what Ben's going to do is take the non-connected end, and he's going to go through the factory hole, which is just adjacent to the factory hinge here. The other thing that, Ben, why don't you tell them about what we want to do? We want to manipulate this just a little bit, just to kind of make a nice little arch. There's no science to that. You're going to see what works for you. But as you feed it through, you're going to see it's naturally going to want to come through here. This is the void that we found that actually had the least obstruction, if you will. Now, as you're carefully pulling that through, you're going to note that Ben is using two hands, one here, and he's just gently massaging it through. And what you'll notice is that it's going to have a little bit of a hang up for a moment, and then it's going to break free. All right, y'all. So we've talked about the connection here, leaving the fuse out, verifying that, following the route, if you will, of the hood release cable. This is your hood release cable right here. It follows along right behind the headlight bezel assembly. We talked about how you're going to bring the wire up through. We also just covered how the wire is going to be fished through the factory hole. We've not drilled any holes. This is another factory hole, and there's a pass through here. This is the only non-factory hole, and again, the only reason I'm pointing to that is you may wonder, well, where is mine at? That happens with the self-tapping screw. We're a little ahead of schedule on that because we had to R&D this first and do a lot of things before we could release it to you. I always say we. I should say Ben. It's a we. And so now Ben's going to take you through the second part here. So let's go ahead, Ben. Take on over. So the provided fish tape, if you will. Notice what he's doing. He's kind of bending it. He's feeding back through this little, I don't know what shape you want to say that, but a little teardrop upside down. And it just pops right through the factory hole again. And again, you're just kind of guiding it. There's no rush on a lot of this. It's just very, very soft guided. And bingo. Now, this is where our wire is that we're going to connect to the actual hood. I would call it the hood button, Ben. The actuator button. What would you refer to the button as? That's going to the hood pin. The hood pin. I knew Ben had the technical terms. Now he's going to go ahead and remove the electrical tape and also our fish tape for now, and then we're going to go to phase 2. All right, we're at the fun part, y'all, where we're going to be installing the LED light. You notice that we're actually using the V-line bag as a tablecloth for the engine, and it's got our screws. So Ben's going to demonstrate a few things. The one thing that Ben already did is he took the alcohol swab that we provide, I should say cleaner, and you're going to clean the surface. Just make sure it's dust, debris-free, everything there. And once that has evaporated and everything is prepped, you're then going to take the LED light. You're going to notice that there is a self-adhesive strip there. sticker. Now, something to keep in mind, that thing will bite like nothing you've ever seen. You're also going to notice that we have 2 divots right here where they're raised. Those are good indications of where you can find your center point. Now, you can eyeball it, or you can go ahead and use a tape measure and make some marks. In this case, Ben is feeling very confident. So Ben is going ahead and eyeballed it. He's centering it between the 2 dots. Once he sticks it there, the nice thing is he is hands-free now. He can continue to go forward, grab the self-tapping screws. And one of the things we want to point out is why we're not going to pre-drill that is in the event that you pre-drilled this and you punctured through the hood, you might have yourself a little body work to do. So there we go. He's made a nice secured feature there. I'm going to swing around here. And you can see that he's using an impact gun. If Milwaukee or whoever this is you're watching, or Makita, it wouldn't be bad if you just sponsor Ben. But the other thing that the self-adhesive strip does is it creates an anti-vibration. So you're not going to hear, as you saw, Ben was just pushing on that. You're not going to hear metal against metal. And now you have the rest of your loom here. So Ben's going to go ahead and move to the second, I should call it the 3rd phase of this. And we're going to go ahead and swing around. Okay, so what Ben's going to be doing is he's going to be taking the wiring loom and fishing it through. This opening where Ben is located right here is a factory opening. It opens up right into this little factory opening here. And as he's guiding across, that's where your wire is going to come out with your fish tape. So again, your wire loom is on the passenger side after you've mounted it. That is key. So Ben has taped his wire to the fish tape that we provide, which is a giant, there we go, zip tie. And as he feeds it through, it just naturally wants to come through that hole. Again, it's just feeding through. He's just gently pulling it through. Now what he's gonna do is he's gonna fish it back through the same hole. It's gonna run along this channel. You might find that it wants to find its way out of here. It's okay. You're just gonna kind of back out. And pretty soon, you're gonna see it pop into here. What Ben's gonna do is he's gonna put his finger right there. He's gonna get a little notch on it. Now there's a couple things you can do there. If you can get your fingers in there and grab a hold, that's great. If not, you could use probably like a little hook. You probably wanna tape the hook so you don't scratch your hood. And I'm gonna bring the camera around just a little bit here. And you'll notice that Ben is working both hands here. So what he's doing is he's slowly guiding and manipulating the wire through. And he's going to pull it through, and then we're going to show you the next phase. All right, y'all, we're at the next step. You've now taken, you're on the passenger side again. You've fed your wire up through. You come through the factory hole. You've run all the way down this channel. You've popped back out with your fish tape and wire. Now what Ben's going to demonstrate is feeding that fish tape back through. We're calling it a fish tape, but it's our really cool zip tie. And it's going to come naturally right back through that hole. I kid you not. 1, 2 tries, it's right there. Now what's going to happen here is you're just going to pull it on through. So what Ben's going to do is get that wire through, and once it's through, we're going to have both of our wires here. So we're going to grab some supplies, and we're going to pull the rest of the wire through so we don't bore you, and we'll be right back. All right, so Ben has, actually, go ahead, Ben, just pull it all the way through. We might as well show everyone how it happens here. And here we go. So Ben has both wires through here. There's nice couple-inch leads here. And now we're going to move to making the connection. And this is where you're going to need a pair of crimpers. Pretty basic tool. You pick them up just about anywhere, any box store or your favorite Harbor Freight, if you will. All right. All right, y'all. So now we're at the point where you're going to make the connection to the pin switch, or I should say the hood pin switch. And again, we're just using our really fancy V-line blanket right here. So what Ben's going to do is he's going to make a connection. And again, all of these pieces are included. And I'm going to swing around just so you can see how Ben is making the connection with the crimp tool. This again is something you're going to need to pick up. It's just a basic tool. So we've got the red going to the red. Again, the 2 looms that you've fed through successfully. At this point, we are very proud of everybody who's made it this far. It's pretty straightforward, as you can see, everyone. And so Ben is now crimping. And he's made a good connection there. Now what Ben's going to do is he's going to go ahead and heat shrink that. And so he's going to grab his heat gun. You may not have one of these. It's always the best thing to do. Some folks will leave it unshrunk, but you can see as he heats that, it's just going to naturally begin to seal itself. And what that does is it keeps moisture and water from making its way in, if you will. And it's just about finished. Just very light, gentle. And now he's going to grab the pin switch, or I'm sorry, the other connector right there. And again, just using the crimp tool, it's made a good connection right there. And this is the part, I think, Ben, is this where we get the pin switch now connected?
Yeah,
Or,
first we have to fit the wires
okay.
through the hole.
Ah, so that extra slack he's tucking back in to the factory hole, as you guys can see. And in this case, he's just going to go ahead and button up a little bit of the protective loom here with a little electrical tape. Pretty simple. Again, that's another item that you'll just want to have on board. You should probably be carrying a crimper and some electrical tape in your Echo as part of your toolkit. That's actually one of the videos we're going to be putting together, is some of the basic tools to bring on board, to keep on board, to get you out of some situations and keep things simple until you can get to a mechanic in the future should you need one. So let's stay focused here on what we got going. So Ben is now just taking the extra slack, tucking it back into the hole. And as you can see, he's just gently guiding it back in. And he's going to leave just enough of those wires right there to make the connection to the button. Pretty straightforward right there. He's made the connection. And just kind of give you guys an idea of what that looks like. And you'll notice that we provided the self-tapping screw, which again, we already have a hole here because we tested everything ahead of time. So go ahead, Ben is going to take the impact driver. He's going to line that up. And as you can see, it's just coming straight across the hood. There's no real special technique to that. It's just nice and light. The screw has already been a determined length, so you're not going to penetrate the hood here. Now your button's installed. So let's get to the next phase. So now we're at the point where we talked about the importance of the grommets in these factory holes. So Ben has supplied the grommet here. It's easy. It's got a little notch, slides in, and it just pushes into the hole and it protects your wire. It looks very factory. So now we're at the part where you want to fire it up after all the work you've done, which again hasn't been much. We're going back to our fuse location. Remember, we intentionally left that fuse out. Right there's the fuse. You're going to open up the little compartment there. That's the waterproof compartment for the fuse. You're going to take your fuse, slide it right in there. You're going to make contact. It's very simple. You're going to close the watertight cover. It's all cinched up. You hear it click in, so we know it's secured. Now what we're going to do is go ahead. There's a button right here. Ben's going to activate it. That button can stay on. Boom, we have light, right? Now, how do we know it's going to shut off, Ben, once we close the hood? Remember the switch you guys put in right there? Go ahead, Ben. One more time. Bingo. Now, we need to make sure that this pin makes contact here. So you're going to take a 30 Torx head driver, and you're going to remove this screw right here, just like that. Again, we've supplied this piece right here. After you pull the screw, you're going to set it right over the top. You're just going to take your screw, take your driver back. Bingo, you're done. And what's going to happen now is the pin is going to make contact with the base right there. So, bingo, it's a wrap. All right, we're going to cover everything here in just a moment, and you're going to love it, especially tonight when I light up the whole neighborhood. All right, y'all, so I think that's a wrap right here. As you can see, this thing is fully functional. I'm going to quickly close the hood here and just show you what we normally be doing. Let's pretend it's nighttime. Right now, it's bright as heck out here, right? I pop the hood. I need to see what's going on. I got to check my oil. I hear a funny noise. Typically, what is that? We got light here. Typically, on any Ford Transit that I'm aware of, an Echo, most Sprinters, if not all Sprinters, there is no under hood light. That is key. You need that. This hood light's not only going to illuminate here, it's going to spread out. In the video, and I'm going to recapture a lot of this later, and we're going to go step by step. We talked about the connections. We talked about how the wiring loom is fed. We talked about there's just a couple of tie-ins. We talked about the importance of how we're going to mount the switch right here, the hood switch, the little bumper piece here, how we're going to be able to turn it off, kick it back on for our testing, how the loom comes through, our grommets, all the connections, just everything that Ben has thought about. This is not his first rodeo. Ben just finished cleaning up. I'm just going to have him step in so you guys can see Ben. You only caught parts of him. You're tired of seeing me. So Ben, thank you. This is Ben's creation. We're honored to be able to do it here on Bad Betty. The other thing is it's going to be available on our website. You'll be able to pick it up at the CA Tuned Off-Road website. You can pick up the ones for the sprinters. As I've always mentioned, leave a comment, question, anything you see that you need answered differently. I can help you out. If I can't, I'll get a hold of Ben.
Okay.
And Ben's whole background is in wiring emergency vehicles, doing suspension upgrades. He is an automotive genius, and I just did all the talking for him. So,
Thank you.
anything else? Did I leave anything out, Ben?
Oh, you good?
I'm good. Ben says I'm good. So appreciate y'all. Peace. Till next time. Remember, V-Line Vans. I'll leave a link in the description. You got to hit Ben up, and he can take care of all your needs.